Welcome to the Dairy News and Views podcast, a production of the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach Dairy Team. Our podcast covers current educational, research, and industry tools available for your operation to manage healthy cows and calves while producing the highest quality dairy products.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hola y bienvenidos to this episode of Spanish Friday with the Dairy News and Views podcast. The Dairy News and Views podcast from the ISU Extension Dairy Team. I'm your host, Gail Carpenter. I'm the State Dairy Specialist with Iowa State, and I'm joined by Miguel Rangel. He is the owner of Optimum Dairy Consulting and Recruiting. In these Spanish Fridays episodes, we talk about all things dairy, and I practice Spanish, and Miguel very patiently coaches me and does not judge me while I practice Spanish. So welcome, Miguel.
Hey, that's correct. You are welcome. That's correct. Nothing further than from the truth.
That's right. Yes. We discussed in our previous episode, we started discussing reproduction management on dairy farms. And talked a little bit about some basic vocabulary when it comes to reproduction. We kind of started by talking about protocol compliance is a big underlying issue for reproductive management on dairy farms. And specifically in our last episode, we talked about tips for better semen tank management and semen tank protocols. But getting your protocols down and making sure they're being complied with, especially when it comes, well, today we'll talk about synchronization protocols and how the more shots you have in your sync protocol, the more you get bit by low protocol compliance. And it's not just when it comes to your synchronization protocol, it's when it comes to we talked about semen tank management or insemination technique, or we could even think outside of repro, milk quality,
Calves.
but calves, any of that. But today we're talking specifically about reproduction. The article that we're working from on this episode and our previous episode is called Speaking Spanish to Improve Dairy Cattle Reproduction. It was published by the University of Georgia Extension. Bill Graves wrote this article, and you can find a copy of it in our show notes. So I hope you check it out. We're not going to go through each of these in a lot of detail. So we talked about the tips for better semen tank management. There were 15 tips, and there's an English and a Spanish translation, but we're not going to read each of these tips to you in English and Spanish. We're going to talk more big picture because we know that you guys can read. And so we know if you want to learn more, you can go read on your own. But some words that we did talk about. Inexiones. Okay, so I wrote that down with a J. Is it a J or a Y?
Oh, with a Y.
With a Y, yes.
In English it's with J, but
yes.
In Spanish with Y, yeah.
Yes. Inyecciones, which is shots. So we talked about, you don't want to say tiros for shots, right? Because that means you're physically using a bullet out of a gun to shoot a cow. That's not how we give synchronization shots. It might be how you give tranquilizer shots.
Numbers for that matter.
So if you learned anything from these two episodes, it's don't shoot your cows.
Don't shoot your cows. Yes.
Some other words that we talked about were, if we're talking about to breed or breed, inseminar is the term that we're using. So inseminate, not breed as in the breed of cow, like a Holstein or a Jersey or a Brown Swiss. Lomo is the term we're using for back, the back of the cow. Preñada, pregnant. That's going to be an important one for reproduction. For riding or mounting, montando is the term there. Specifically, in our previous episode, we talked about el tanque de semen, the semen tank. So tanque, we've learned tanque before in some other episodes, but that's tank. Semen, easy. Semen.
Yes, same.
A lot of these physiology terms are going to be fairly similar because they have, or even the same because they have the Greek origin. So semen is going to be the same. Cervix is going to be the same. A lot of these are going to be pretty similar, which is handy.
one term that maybe not that much related to repro, but that is used a lot when you talk about cows is the ear tag. And a lot of people have confusion with that because in Spanish, well, in English you say ear tag, and well, that's the
Mhm.
ID of the cow. Now, women use earrings, right?
Yes.
Earrings, jewelry, a piece of jewelry.
Hmm.
So in Spanish, ear tag is arete, and an earring is also an arete. So it's the
Arete.
same term. So you need to be careful so people don't get confused, especially when they send text messages. They will send a text message that says the earring is missing,
Mm.
right? It's not the earring, it's
It's the
the ear
tag.
tag.
Gotcha.
So just one thing that if you, I guess, especially with translations, some things don't translate the same. And if there is not enough context, you will
Yeah.
be like earring, earring. Why? What
Yeah.
is he trying
Who
to
cares?
say?
Yeah.
It's an ID
Yeah.
tag. The other
So
one that
how do
I
you
guess
spell
when
that?
we arete is Arete. Arete.
Arete.
For example, if
Perfect.
they tell you I need earrings, no, it's
Oh,
not earrings, it's aretes.
aretes. Yes. Ear tags.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
That's good to know. Yes, because we are reading a lot of ear tags when we're
Exactly.
breeding cows too. Yes, yes. And if an ear tag is missing, can cause some problems.
It can cause some problems. Another
Yes.
word, since we are here, not that much related, but it's related. Yes, indirectly. The
Yes.
word hour. Hour in Spanish is hora,
Hora. Yep.
right? The time, la hora. We are talking about time. But if people don't speak a lot of English, they will have a hard time saying hour. They may
Yes.
say hor or something like that. So just to make sure that when you said breed the cow 12 hours later, so you were talking about hours and
Yeah.
that they understand that the word
Yes.
hour, it is spelled Hour, but it's
Yep.
pronounced hour.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's one that I know it has caused confusion.
Gotcha. All right. So we can jump in, I think, and talk maybe a little bit about the next vocab words we're going to learn about repro. Um, and he breaks it down in this article about the first steps to being pregnant or preñada. You have to get them bred. That is hopefully not a surprise for everybody. It's and I say this when I'm talking about repro in class a lot too, and people kind of roll their eyes like duh. But no, it's actually like when we're talking about pregnancy rate, heat detection rate, or insemination rate is the vernacular that I prefer. You have to, if you're not putting semen in anything, nothing's
Uh-huh.
gonna get pregnant. And that a lot of times comes down to, yes, the technique of insemination, but also heat detection or synchronization or some combination of those depending on the protocols for your farm. So there are essential first steps in getting the animal bred successfully. Um, we talked about heat a little bit last time, but I didn't write it down, and so I didn't read it off. But celo is that
Celo,
celo is heat.
heat.
So if I'm saying heat detection, it's detectando el celo. Detectando el
Yes.
celo, heat detection.
And one term that people use more often now is because heat means calor in Spanish,
Yes.
people just say vacas calientes or vacas en calor, which is not incorrect. I mean,
Yes.
you can say that. So, but yeah, the correct term is celo. And a lot of
Celo.
people
Yeah.
will say vacas en celo. Yes,
Yes.
that's for sure.
Veces al día is the first thing he has. Is that what is veces? So al día
Time.
is okay. Is so how many times a day? Veces al día.
Yes.
How frequently are you detecting heat?
Uh-huh.
Minutos cada vez. How many minutes do you look each time?
Yes. How many minutes? Yes, ¿cuántos minutos?
Yes. Rutina y precisión. Am I saying that at all close?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Oh, nice.
Actually, actually,
Wow.
yes.
Rutina y precisión. Precisión. Your heat detection programs must be routine and accurate. checked every day by someone who knows what they're doing. Make it accurate and make it routine. And this is a conversation I have a lot when it comes to heifers in particular. Because heifers, we've spent a lot of time looking at data from dairy farms, large and small dairy farms, and especially small dairy farms who you're very busy, right? You are doing everything on that farm. And you might not be, yes, using a synchronization protocol or a cedar sync protocol or whatever it is for your heifers might feel like a lot of extra work. And heat detection, but if you're not going to use timed AI in your heifers and you're heat detecting your heifers, you have to watch for heats. I'm sorry, you really do. And it's a thing that's very easy with heifers to make it like, because they're not lactating yet, right? You have like treatments to do. You have fresh cows to take care of. You have cows to milk. You have lactating cows to feed. Those cows are taking a lot of your time. And the heifers might not even be on, they might be on like the old Thai style barn down the road, right? They might not even be on site with you. It's very common. And this is not casting any judgment. It's just kind of a reality that your heifers are a lot of times not there, and they're not high on your priority list. And it's really easy for heifers to kind of just like get pushed back and push back and push back. And if we're seeing a lot of variation in age at first calving, a lot of times that comes from variation in age at first breeding, because you're not catching them in heat when you need to be catching them in heat. And so one of the things we talk about when it comes to age at first calving and managing your first lactation cows is, okay, let's take a step back and talk about heifers. And what are your breeding protocols for your heifers? And what are your like theoretical protocols and what are your actual protocols? Like what are you actually doing? Is it part of your routine? Is it something that you're doing, people are trained and they're doing when they need to do them, right? Or is it something that, we fudge sometimes because things get busy? And maybe it means you're sticking to the routines you have set better, right? Maybe it means like, all right, we said we're going to heat check twice a day at these heifers. We're going to start heat checking twice a day for these heifers. Maybe it's time to think about, okay, maybe we need to invest in some heat detection technology, right? And maybe it's time to invest in some technology that's going to help us do this. Or maybe it's, I need to get my heifers on a cedar sync protocol, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're not able to stick to your routines, figure out why. Because getting those heifers bred is really crucial.
And if you need some incentives for that, for example, even though yeah, you get busy and you don't have time, because I know that happens very often,
Mhm.
but you are already making a decision by not breeding those heifers, and those decisions cost money.
Yep.
Because if you miss the heat, you know that you need to
Mhm.
keep feeding that animal. The animal may be too or really old by the time you actually, maybe it's his last chance or her last
Yep.
chance. So many things that come into play. You may end up selling the animal later on, or like I said, you are losing time. So when you don't go up breathe because you have other things to do, you think in terms of, I will pay for this.
Yeah.
By not doing it, I will
Yes.
pay for it.
Yes.
So if you're trying to reduce cost, it's worth doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Something to think about too for those of you who are listening in Iowa, which is where we're recording from and where Miguel and I both work. The Choose Iowa Dairy Innovation Grants are due in the spring. And though if you're thinking about investing in some sort of technology, it's a great opportunity for dairy producers in the state of Iowa. So these grants are they match, right? So you can put up half the cost, and then if you're accepted, the state will match the other half. And specifically, they invest in on-farm processing technology, but they also invest in labor-saving technology or labor-reducing technology. And so a lot of dairy producers have been very successful with those grants and getting things like heat detection, heat monitoring, or activity monitors, whatever it is. I've been reviewing those grants for a couple of years, and every year it seems like we're getting more and we're getting even better grants every year because it's been a really successful program for a lot of dairy producers in the state. So I believe those are going to open in March or be due in March. They haven't opened yet. So if you're thinking about maybe making your life easier when it comes to heat detection and you're a dairy farmer in Iowa, that's a great opportunity to keep your eye out for. So
Great resource.
yeah.
Ah.
There's your fun fact for the day. Yeah. All right. I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. But evaluating your heat detection program, we talked about rutina e precisión, getting the routine and making sure that we have a accurate and routine heat detection program. What kind of surface are they on when you're watching for heat? If you're on any sort of, like today, we're recording this in December. We had a bunch of snow and then some warm days and then freezing again. And so my driveway is like a sheet of ice. I'm sure a lot of holding pens, especially outdoor holding pens, are a sheet of ice out there today. Cows will not show heat as well on surfaces where they don't have good footing. Sometimes moving animals around will increase activity. So maybe moving them from up to the holding pen or moving them around in the barn will increase their activity. What are animals doing? Eating and milking are the worst times to watch for heat. I mean, sometimes when they're really in heat, it causes problems, right?
Yes,
Like that, some of them, it's like they're in the parlor trying to mount each other, montando, right? And
montando.
or they're and cows fall and get stuck and problems happen.
Or montando, the guy that is washing the water troughs.
Yeah.
The water
nurse. Yeah. Keep your eyes out. So especially on off-sync days. Yeah.
Talking about like you mentioned, smaller farms where they have bulls, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes, bulls, they are territorial, and someone washing a water trough when cows are in heat, well, that's not a very good idea, I guess.
Yes. Be safety first. We've talked about safety a lot on this show as well. So eating and milking are the worst times to watch for heat. One of the questions here is at what time are you willing to breed a cow back after she's calved? That's talking about voluntary waiting period. I don't understand the translation that they have there in Spanish and how that relates to the English question. So it says, ¿En cuánto tiempo está usted dispuesto a cruzarla otra vez? I know otra vez is again.
Yes, and cruzarla is a term that you don't use a lot. What they try to say is, when are you thinking in breeding the cow again or heifer? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look for that one, but I don't see it in here. So, but yeah, that's the word cruzar is usually used mostly with other animals like dogs and cats. But with cows, the word, this is part of the Google, well, not bashing Google, right? Because we use Google Translate for a lot, but the context, right? The context matters for a lot. So yeah, I guess in this case, they are asking, when are you going to breed this cow again after the cow calf? Yes, they are talking about the voluntary waiting period. And I guess that's it depends on the farm also, how many days they are, what's the program. And some farms like to be kind of aggressive on that regard. Some other farms really like to wait. So
that's all voluntary waiting period, right? I don't like seeing people breeding a lot before the voluntary waiting period's over. If you are, probably reevaluate your voluntary waiting period. And then next, after some of these heat detection things that we think about, we get into synchronization programs. Programas de sincronización.
Programas, yes.
Yep.
A+.
Yay, A++.
A.
Yeah.
You are greedy.
And what I'm seeing a lot on here is inyectar. The inyecciones, inyectar. Those are those, and again, coming back to the shot, when we're talking about shots, we are talking about injection.
The part that could be confusing there sometimes is because of the names or the abbreviation of the hormones. A
Yep.
lot of people go by the name, generic name.
Yep.
Like if they are using lutalize, they say lut,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
a very common term that almost everybody uses it because nobody says prostaglandin.
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah. But I think in an extension bulletin, they probably don't want to use brand names would be my.
no, they
Yep.
can't
Yep.
use brand name. No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we have to find them in heat or make them in heat, basically. So we've talked about tips for better semen tank management. We've talked about heat detection and heat synchronization. The next protocol that we have to follow is insemination techniques. Técnicas de inseminación. Getting
Yes.
the cows bred. Fertility, fertilidad.
Fertilidad.
There we go. So when evaluating fertilidad, there's a few things to consider. So he has semen placement, semen handling, time of breeding, and semen fertility. Colocación del semen, semen
Yes.
placement.
Semen placement, yes.
Yep. Manejo del semen, semen handling.
Very well, yeah.
Tiempo de crianza, or we might say inseminación, right?
That would be tiempo de inseminación instead of crianza.
Yep. Yeah, tiempo de inseminación, time of breeding. Fertilidad del semen, semen fertility. And so those are some things when we think about fertility, semen placement, handling, breeding timing, and semen fertility. So there's some insemination techniques checklist. And this has 22 steps in the checklist. So we're going to run through these and then maybe talk about some highlights. So, okay. So, proper AI procedures. Use new gloves for every insemination. Lubricate the glove with mineral oil or commercial AI lubricant. Speak to and touch the animal to make her aware of your presence. Massage the anus with mineral oil or lubricant. Gently enter the rectum by forming a cone with your fingers. Gently and thoroughly clean the rectum of manure. Check the uterus for any abnormal condition. Clean manure from the vulva and from the underside of your arm with a paper towel. Spread the vulva by pushing down with your arm above the rectum. Gently and smoothly pass the gun through the vagina to the opening to the cervical canal. Place the tip of the gun into the os. Hold the cervix ahead of the gun's tip and manipulate the cervix to allow the gun's tip to pass. Avoid passing the gun through the cervix if pregnancy is suspected. Note that pregnancy is indicated by a sticky mucus plug. Place your index finger at the end of the cervical canal opening. Gently move the gun tip forward until you feel it with your finger. Pass the gun tip 1/4 inch past the head of the cervix. Your target is only the size of a dime. Be certain the gun tip is not caught between cervical rings. Concentrate on accurate semen placement during deposition. Slowly for 5 seconds, push the plunger into the straw gun. If the animal moves, stop the deposit, wait until movement stops, check positioning, then continue to deposit. Gently remove the gun and check for an abnormal discharge and complete semen deposit. Record when and to what sire the animal was bred. Whew. And it sounds so easy when we read it out loud, right?
Yeah. Sounds so easy.
Yes. I know a lot of semen companies will do trainings with your employees, right? And so if you have a lot of employees that you want to do a refresher training on AI techniques, don't be afraid to use the consultants that you already work with. That's another thing I say a lot is, and we talked about this last time, tools and knowing what tools you have available. A lot of the companies you're consulting with or your extension specialist, or your veterinarian, a lot of people offer services and take advantage of those things, right? Like, don't feel like you have to train your employees unless you want to, unless that's something that you excel at and you enjoy. But oftentimes you don't necessarily have to be the person to train your employees on artificial insemination. So one of the things that I noticed as we went through this is exactly what we talked about earlier, is that a lot of these anatomical terms like cervix or vulva, those are the same in English and Spanish. Um, lubricant is lubrica, right? Or
Lubricante.
lubrica is lubricate, right? Um,
Oh, that's lubrica.
lubrica, yep. Lubrica is lubricate. Um, and um, glove. What did you say the term for glove was?
Guante.
Guante.
Guante with G. Yes, guante. Mhm.
Lubrica.
Lubri,
Guante. Guante nuevo would be get a new glove.
new glove. Yes.
Um, utero is uterus, right? Utero.
Uterus. Yes.
Yep.
Utero.
Um, yeah, a lot of these terms are going to be sound very similar, right? Gestación.
I guess there is
Um,
one that, for example, in Spanish we call it pipeta. In English is the straw.
how did you say that again?
Oh, the semen straw. Semen straw we call it pajilla.
Pajilla.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
you spell that?
Pajilla. Pajilla.
Pajilla is the semen straw.
The semen straw. Yeah. Well, I guess those are the most common. I mean, yeah, some appear here and there.
Yeah,
Like the cow has, for example, I don't know if they have an abscess, but abscess, even in the Spanish, is very similar, absceso. Some may appear here and there. For the most part, those are the most useful ones.
perfect.
Those terms. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, and that takes us to the end of this article. I encourage you to go check this out. It's got some great vocabulary on it. It'll be in our show notes. The other thing that you'll find in our show notes is we are trying to get some feedback about the impact that this podcast series has had on your. So we talk about knowledge, changes in behavior, and changes in condition are the things we try to establish impact on when it comes to extension. We are paid as extension, or I am paid as an extension personnel by your tax dollars, and so it's important that that we have some sort of accountability for the work that we do. And the way we establish that we are doing good work is by trying to identify the impact that we're having, which can be hard for things like podcasts because I can't force you to stick around at the end and fill out an evaluation survey. So I'm counting on the goodness of your heart that a few of you will take just a couple minutes and hopefully fill out this podcast survey to tell us more about if you thought this podcast had an impact on you, and if you didn't, that's also good for us to know because then it allows us to maybe rethink how we do things. So if you want to give us your feedback, it would be the best Christmas present you could give me. Go to go.iastate.edu/Spanish Fry. That's short for Spanish Friday. And you'll also find that link in our show notes below. If you want to take just a couple minutes and at least fill out a couple questions, you don't have to, there's some free response questions that you can kind of skip over if you don't have time, because I know that everybody has a lot of surveys to fill out.
Yeah.
Funny story, I signed up to help with a survey about surveys. So it was a project. It was a project to look at or survey fatigue. And so for part of it, you signed up to write down every single survey you filled out in a week and then fill out a survey about those surveys. And I think I had so much decision fatigue, I didn't even fill that survey out. Like,
Imagine.
so all that to say, like,
Good
I
job.
get it if you don't want to fill out another survey. And you're certainly still allowed to enjoy this podcast if you don't want to fill out another survey. But if you find yourself with some free time and feel like you would like to do a favor for somebody, feel free to go fill that out.
That
Until
helps
next
us
time.
out because we have fun doing this podcast. So we really
That's right.
enjoy doing.
That's
And
right.
I
Yes.
like I mentioned before, This is information that we believe is important because of what we have seen. Obviously, we have seen different areas of the dairy or the dairy industry. And this is something that, well, let's put it out there. And if we can tweak it so it's more appealing for you guys, well, that's what we need, right? That's what we
Yes,
want. We want to give you something that you use. Like I said, we are not going to solve the problems of the world,
yep,
but at least this is a good start and we do what we can.
that's right. That's right.
Mm.
Yes, yes. If you would like to find out more about what we do, you can check out our website. Mine is, or this is not just mine, it's the whole dairy team here at Iowa State, extension.iastate.edu/dairy team. For Miguel, you'll go to optimumdairy.com to find out more about his work. Los vemos la siguiente semana. See you next week.
Hasta la próxima. Adiós.
Sí. Adios.
This institution is an equal opportunity provider. For the full non-discrimination statement or combination inquiries, go to www.extension.iastate.edu/diversity/ext.